Hello, welcome to another episode of Xa Talk Show. We are going to do random. We're gonna talk about random stuff. So let's begin. Okay, random stuff. First, I'm gonna talk about Emacs. I'm gonna talk about Unicode, Egyptian Hieroglyph. I'm going to talk about Unicode white space and Unicode reference mark and CSS selector syntax. Oh, these are very interesting. And some Wolfram language news and reading notes on Bubakai. Bubakai is the Bubaki, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, is a mathematician group, very influential. And I'm going to talk about acrobatic gymnastics. That's amazing. So that's some of the things we're going to talk about. And if you are here, say hi and ask me questions. I'll answer it, okay? So let's begin. The current bit rate is lower than the recommended bit rate. This is annoying. So I need to increase the bit rate. Okay, next time. So keyboard, okay? So there's an update on my website about best keyboards for Emacs. Let's see. Am I doing good? Yeah. Hello, Lucy. So best keyboard for Emacs. So I recommend Glove 80, Kinesis 360, and I no longer recommend the Kinesis Advantage 2. So get the 360, okay? And I recommend the wired, which is what I'm using. And Glove 80 is the best, okay? Glove 80. So and also Expose Night, Ultimate Hacking Keyboard, which you see on my desktop here. And also the Apple Maker, I haven't used that, so I'm not sure, but I think this is a good one. So all these are the best keyboards. So that's an update to my best keyboards for Emacs. Okay, and there's a new news about keyboard. There is this orbital trackpad. Apparently, it's a do-it-yourself. Someone made it, so it seems very interesting. Orbital trackpad. That's a keyboard news. And there is this picture, I forgot, I'm not sure where it from. It's a Microsoft keyboard with a trackball, but I don't know if this is computer generated. I think it is. So anyway, so that's some of the keyboard news. Okay, so and there's also update to the Lisp machine keyboards. So you can see these are the keyboard from 1970s to 1980s. And they are they are very much tied to Emacs and Lisp and artificial intelligence back then. So so let me tell you a few things interesting. So today you have the Windows key. Microsoft invented that Windows key, and that idea is borrowed from the Macintosh, the Apple's command key. And that command key, where does it come from? Who first had the idea you need a Windows or command key? That is from this keyboard, basically from the Lisp keyboard, okay? And the first one is this one, Cell keyboard. That's from Stanford AI Lab, 1970. Okay, so you can see that's the first one that created the meta key. In Emacs, we talked about meta key all the time. So that's the meta key, which is the father of the Apple's command key, which is the father of Windows key. Okay, so that's some of the interesting things about this keyboard. And the most dramatic and popular one you see online is this one, Space Cadet keyboard. Very interesting name, Space Cadet. Okay, so there's some update. And so I updated. So all these are Lisp machine keyboards. And if you are a Zoomer, you love this. You want to get one. You can buy. First of all, you can buy the Lisp machine keyboard keycaps. So $50 or something, or maybe more. So you can put them on your keyboard. So this is Ultimate Hacking Keyboard, which is what I have. Someone put Lisp machine Space Cadet keycaps on it. So you can buy these keycaps, and here's a number pad. Then you can buy this Hyper 7, which is modeled after the Lisp machine keyboard. So it's got 183 keys. Okay, actually, I don't recommend it. You know, some people, when they look at the Lisp machine keyboards, they think, oh, this is fantastic. Actually, it's no good. It's not good. It's not good in many ways. It's not ergonomic. Okay, for example, they have the modifiers hyper, super, meta, control, all the way to the left, and they, instead of function keys, they have this, large key, which is no good because you want the function keys in groups of 4, so that you can press them without having to look at it. But with the Lisp machine keyboard, you cannot do that. And also, besides, it's not ergonomic. So if you're not, if you are a heavy coder or writer, it's not good for you. But it's dramatic. It's got the thumb up key, thumb down key, and top repeat. It's kind of fun keyboard. So anyway, you can buy the keycaps, or you can get the Hyper 7. It costs, I forgot, $200 or something. Hyper 7, okay? So here's some photos, Hyper 7 keyboard, and here's a video, and here's where to buy. Then, if you really want to go for the quality, you get this one. This is KeyMax. This keyboard is called KeyMax. It's a kind of remake of the Lisp symbolic keyboard, remake of this keyboard, okay? One of the version of the Lisp machine keyboard. And it's very expensive. It's literally $1,000. Someone made it. Let's see. So, remake of that keyboard, and it cost $1,000 roughly. So, anyway, there's a video review by this expert guy. Yeah, who is this? What's his name? Okay, there's a video review by this guy, Quaosran22, Thomas something, okay? So you can, he gives full detail about this keyboard, truly high quality. Okay, that's about that Lisp machine keyboard, okay? And let's go back to the topics I want to talk about. I'm using Ferris Sweep right now. Oh, I remember someone told me Ferris Sweep. I don't remember exactly what it looks like. But anyway, you are on my Discord, right? XR Discord. If you haven't, you can join XR Discord. You can find the link at xarli.info. Just search for XRli Discord. Okay, so that's keyboard and orbital trackpad, okay, and the Richard Stallman figurine. This is beautiful. So some guy, I found this on Elon Musk X. So this guy, his wife made it for him. Richard Stallman figurine. It's beautiful. Handcraft. Okay, that's some of the news. Then let's talk about Unicode. Okay, Egyptian hieroglyph. Let me show you here. You see, Egyptian hieroglyph. They tell it as it is. So you have woman giving childbirth. Actually a photo of childbirth. And look at this one. I'm not sure what that is. So these are Unicode characters. These are actually characters. And you have a king with a giant dick, huge dick. And you have tits here. And you have this thing. I'm not sure what that is. Okay, so, and they also have, let me tell you here, okay. They also have, you see, on Microsoft Windows, they censored it. But you can see on the Mac, it'll show. But Apple's got its own problems. But anyway, so let's see. Let me show you the photo of it. You see, they looks like that. Photos of cock. I mean, not photo characters. So this is part of Egyptian. Okay, that's an interesting thing about that. And now let's talk about Apple. Now, Apple's Unicode is very much political. They did a lot of bad things. So, but anyway, so one of the things they did is that Apple tries to define what Unicode is, basically. So you have these arrow characters in Unicode. You have, these arrow characters are around since 2014 in Unicode 7, okay? So by now, Apple should have a font, including these characters, but Apple doesn't, So if you look at this page on your Mac, you'll see all this shows up as squares. And this is just some of them. So let me show you all, the whole bunch of Unicode arrows. So you can see all these are Unicode arrow characters. And about 1/3 of them, about 100 or 50 characters, on Apple computer, it doesn't show. Same thing on iPhone, iPad. So basically, Apple, they try to create their own vision of what Unicode, what characters you should be is good. They do not include lots of these, standard Unicode characters. So if you are on, for example, here is the arrows we are talking about. So many of these doesn't show. So I can tell you which one it doesn't show. Many of these. Okay. For example, this whole block, I think it doesn't show except maybe 2 or 3. And this whole block, Apple it doesn't show. And this whole block, I think this block on the Mac, it doesn't show. So a lot of, not just arrows in this, but more prominent, you can see this most prominently in arrow characters. So why is that? Because Unicode has some problems. It's great, but it's not perfect. But so Apple is kind of like trying to fix it. So for example, the arrows, the arrow characters they came from many places. Some of them are for mathematics, mostly from mathematical books, textbooks. Some of them for example, some of them are from dingbats. For example, these arrow characters, they are from dingbats. So anyway, in Unicode, many of the characters, not just arrow, but all sort of characters, they came from many places. So sometimes they are not exactly consistent. So Apple kind of, on Apple computer, which is supposedly the elite, the best design. So they prevent you from showing some of these characters. They consider kind of inconsistent or such. So that is why I don't think they ever explicitly say why, but you can kind of tell. So all these, this whole bunch of characters is not on Apple computer. So that's one thing. Apple Unicode tyranny. Okay, so that's about that. Okay, another interesting thing about Unicode is the mathematical font. So on this page, for example, let me show you some interesting things. So as you type, you can get these characters. And if you go to a text editor, open a new, paste it, so you get these characters. Now, this is not font. This is actually a character. So if you say press that key on Emacs, it's called describe char. Then you can get the information. For example, describe char on the S. So you can see this S is named mathematical fractal small s. Okay, so if you go to my page, XRD Unicode math font, you can play with it. So you can change to bold, for example, these characters are actually not bold by the application. They are actually bold characters by themselves without italics or whatever. So there's bold, there's italic, there's mathematical monospace characters, and there is a math script characters. For example, very interesting. And so the update, so I did, so this, so you can see these are Unicode characters. So I did some update to tell you what some of these are used for. Mostly they are used in mathematics. So you have integers, natural numbers, primes, P for prime, Q for rational, R for real, C for complex numbers, H for quaternion, and S for Sardinian. And then a few new things I learned in the past month or so is F for finite field, and B for Boolean. The Boolean set of Boolean is what how do they call them? Set. Okay, so Boolean is used in type theory, and finite and then you have finite field, and then I learned yesterday. So you have these small case Frankter characters. They are used in Lie algebra. Okay, so that's new things I learned. Okay, so that's about that. So so let's go back to the talk show, and let's. Okay, so showing browser. So we talked about math font, and the next, white space. So in Unicode, you have so many white space now. So you have about over 10 or 20 white space characters. For example, you have the character, this one is called character tabulation. It's tab, okay? It's just tab. So you have line feed, line tabulation, form feed, carriage return, space. Now all these are old, okay? Then you have next line, all these are old. Then all these are part of ASCII characters. But then you have many new ones. So you have no break space. This is also kind of old, but not in ASCII. And you have Ogham space mark, okay? That is some, okay, that Ogham must be a language. It shouldn't be here. Anyway, then you have EN quad, EM quad, EN space, EM space. Then you have 3 per EM space, 4 per EM space, 6 per EM space. Then you have figure space. Then you have punctuation space. Then you have thin space. Then hair space. Then you have line separator, So you have so many new spaces in new white space in Unicode. For example, the line separator. Why do they create that? The idea is that in on the Mac, on Windows, on Unix, the line return a new line. Let's show white space. Wait. Okay, show white space. So in Unix, on the Mac, on Unix, on Windows, you see the new line, the line return characters is actually different depending on which operating system you are on. So Unicode, so that's the old convention. This situation has been in the past 40 years or so, or in the past 30 years since Windows came about. So anyway, so Unicode tried to have this line separator as one new consistent way. So it kind of, the idea is that everyone just use this character for the line separation. But I doubt it'll fly. But anyway, so the line ending convention in different operating system is actually a headache. It's creating a lot of problems. Okay, I'm not going to go into it unless you want me to. So if you have a question, say it. Okay, if you want me to talk about the problems of the line ending convention between Mac, Unix, Windows, there's lots of problems. I can talk about that. So anyway, so Unicode has all these new space, and there is this ideographic space. That's a space used in Chinese because it's a big fat space. So that's about Unicode white space characters. Then another thing interesting is that when you want to show white space, there's a question of what characters, what glyph you want to represent what white space. So for example, let's input a tab. So let's input a tab. So you can see I have a tab here. So it's shown as a triangle. See, you see, so that's you have to pick a character to represent the white space, and this is a bit tricky because if you are in the text editor situation, you need, let's say, a symbol to represent line return. There are many choices. For example, you can use a arrow, 90-degree turn arrow, any one of these, you can use it. Or you can use the paragraph sign. So anyway, one situation is that you want to show white space in a text editor or word processor. The other situation is on keyboard. For example, the tab key, the tab key right here. So there are different situations. So on the keyboard versus on the editor, you typically want to use different symbols. It will make sense because, for example, in white space, so how do you show a white space in an editor? You can show it by a dot, like here, or you can show a kind of underline, thing. But on a keyboard, now let's say if you are on a keyboard, you want the symbol to show space. Does a dot make sense? No, because if you have a dot on the space bar, it makes people think you are actually, if you press that key, insert a dot. So it doesn't make sense there. It makes sense in the editor. It doesn't make sense on the keyboard label. So, it's very interesting that which symbol to use to represent white space depends on the context. Okay, that's an interesting question. I mean, it's interesting issue. For example, for the tab, on the Microsoft keyboard or Logitech keyboard, usually the tab is represented by two, forward and backward arrow with a bar at the end. That's on the Microsoft Windows keyboard or Logitech. But on the Mac, typically they use without the. On the Mac, I think actually I have like lots of photos to show this. Should I show? Yeah, okay, let's see. Let's show it. So you go to keyboard, let's search tab. So there's a lot, Macintosh Portable, let's see. Let's search for symbol, okay? So there it is, Apple keyboard symbols. So these are all the symbols used by Apple keyboards. So you can see actual keyboards. Usually for US keyboard versions, they just use English words. But Apple keyboard for Japan, for Russia, for Europe, they usually use symbols, glyphs. Okay, so for example, you can see some of the examples: Shift key, return key, and tab. You see there the tab. Okay, you cannot see them too well, but it's an arrow with a N bar instead of two arrows, just one single arrow. And also over the past 10 years or 20, Apple has changed their use of symbols. For example, the page up and down key, okay? for about 5 years, they use this character, arrow with 2 bars. Okay, up arrow with 2 bars, down arrow with 2 bars, to represent page up and page down key. But now they simply use a arrow. Okay, so you can see here. So this is the Apple Magic keyboard, year 2015, traditional Chinese. Okay, this one is used in Taiwan. So you can see, and also they changed the home key and end key labels. So before it was diagonal arrow, but now it's arrow with a bar. So what's this about? So this is the interesting issue about design. Little details of design. For example, if you are at Apple, you are designing this keyboard. So there's a question: what symbol you're gonna use on the keyboard, and why do they change? What is the reason? You ask the designer. So what is the reason you change from one of the symbol to the other? And the criteria, it has a lot to do with lots of things. For example, on Apple's documentation, typically you want the symbol to be the same as when you pull a menu, the symbol shows there. So there's a lot consideration, and you also have to consider cultural convention, things like that. So that is why Apple keyboard for USA, for English, for American, usually they don't use these symbols. They just use English. So anyway, a lot of issue to consider. So this is one of the things that, some of the details, kind of trivial, almost trivial details that you look at, you observe, and you can think about. It has to do with design. So typically these are not the things, the mainstream media or Apple fans will talk about. Every year or two, this new Apple operating system, their big announcement, this or that. But usually they don't talk about these minor details. But it's very interesting. It has to do with design, Unicode symbols, or symbols in general, symbols, design, their meaning, and also has to do with writing of documentation. When you write, you read a lot of programming language documentation, Python, Perl, Java, and some of these come up anyway. So you read a lot of documentation, so there's a design issue. What character to represent what? So all these issues are kind of interesting. Okay, if you are just if you are just like mainstream, if you are a typical person or programmer, you go with mainstream. You go to school, high school, go to college, whatever. You don't see these things. They don't teach you. You are like cookie. What they say, cookie stamp. So your brain is like the same. They're the same like everyone. But if you are kind of independent or homeschooled, then you kind of notice all these kind of things. Okay, so that's about that. Design, documentation, symbols used in human history. So it's not just keyboard symbols. Oh, it's just keyboard. No, it's human history. So a lot of this has to do with the entire human history, or depending on how deep you want to go, has to do with linguistics. These are, for example, this symbol. Why do they? This symbol, for example, that's a wheel. That's the Dharma wheel. That's the Indian's helm symbol. Okay, that came from the Indian religion's concept of a wheel of life. So in Indian religions, or even in Buddhism, this wheel represents wheel of life, meaning that when we die, we reincarnate. We come back as another person, or become a pig or an animal. Reincarnation, cycle of reincarnation. So you have the concept of karma. If karma means like good, if you do good, you have good karma. Then you come back as another person with better life. Let's say a rich person. If you do bad in this life, you do evil things, you rob, you steal, then you come back. When you reincarnate, when you die, when you come back to the world, you become a pig or a bull or a cow, a beast of burden. That's kind of the general idea of the Indian or Buddhism religion. Okay, so the Dharma, this wheel of life is represent that a wheel. Like it's like the Western sense of wheel of fortune. Okay, so so then they choose this. So this wheel symbol is actually used to represent the control key. So you can see in this Apple keyboard, Apple laptop, this is for use for Canadian. So you can see the control key is represented by that wheel. In fact, this stipulation of using the wheel, the Dharma wheel, to represent the control key is actually an ISO standard. Okay, if you look deep into that, it's actually the ISO, one of the ISO standard. I don't remember. I have it. I mentioned it somewhere, but one of the ISO standard, they specify what symbol to use to represent what key, such as delete, back delete, alt key or option key or command key or control key or the tab key or the caps lock key. They have a kind of the standard for that. It's rarely used, but anyway, in this keyboard, in this Apple's keyboard version for Canadian French, Canadian multilingual, the MacBook Pro, they actually stick with those standards. So all these symbols you see on this keyboard is actually using that ISO standard. Okay, so very interesting things. So let's copy that and let's paste it here so that we can have a record of what we talked about. Okay, let's paste it here. Okay, so a lot of things to go over. Unicode white space. Yeah, so Unicode, that's about Unicode white space. So next. Hello. Do you think Shift key must be pressed with both hands? I think Shift key should be banned. Okay, so Shift key is a pain in the ass. Ban Shift keys, ban key code. Okay, so you go to Xali keyboard blog, you have a article about ban key codes. That's your control meta, option key, alt key, Windows key. I think they should be banned. Then you'll be much more efficient. You'll be, you'll have less hand pain. You'll be more efficient, and in fact, you'll have much more shortcuts if you don't use these key combos. So lots of history. The key combination, they came from mechanical typewriters. Okay, so the key combination, they came from let's see, typewriters. Okay, let me show you a few. So you see, mechanical typewriters invented about 200 years ago. So where does it came from? Who gave you the idea? Who gave us the idea that you have to hold this key first, Shift key, then press another key, release that key, then release the Shift key. Key must be specifically in that order. You can't just press them both at the same time. It doesn't work. You have to press the Shift, hold it first. Okay. Same thing with the, for the control, for the command key, for the option key, for the command key. So where does that came from? Came from mechanical keyboard, because the Shift key, because the mechanical, you see all those gears, the elaborate gears. In order to make it work, you hold the Shift, so they actually shift all the gears behind it. Then you press another key, then they that's why they, then you got capital case and stuff. So that's where it came from, the shift key, shifting the gears. That's why it's called shift. Okay, shifting the gears. So for 100 years we use that and we get used to, it becomes our nature. Obviously when you press shift you have to hold it, obviously, because otherwise the gear doesn't shift. What you're talking about. That's the before computers. But when the computer keyboard is invented, you no longer have gears, but however the habit stuck. By habit you have to hold the shift first, hold it there, then press another key. So the computer adopted the typewriter way, because if you don't do that, nobody's gonna like your keyboard. They're gonna say this Apple sucks or whatever, because they are used to, we are used to the shifting thing. So that's how we got, all this meta key, and you have to hold them and stuff, which is no good. So that's the history of the shifting, why you have to hold that and stuff. Okay, so let's copy that. Hold on a second. So we talked about that, and let me tell you. So that's the history of the shift key and the okay. So key code. Okay, so let's put the link here, and ban key code. Okay, so I think we should ban key code and ban shift key. Okay, so key. I have articles on them. You can go read them. Ban key codes. Search for Sali ban key codes. I'll tell you why. Okay, so because key code is one of the most critical, the one of the most foremost reason of repetitive strain injury. You hear a lot of people, they, programmers, they use keyboard a lot. They go to see a doctor. Their career is ruined because they cannot type anymore because they have pain. Key code is one of the most important cause of that. Okay, I can tell you. I have like tens of articles about details there. So anyway, so you can read up this article, ban key codes. Okay, there's a statistics. There's statistics and lots of information. I'm not gonna go over because we already 40 minutes. We we are 1/3 way of the things I want to talk about yet. So anyway, key code is very bad, and shift key is is part of the key code, so it's also very bad. So okay, so let me think about what are the things I want to talk about. So you are asking, so first thing, key code is no good. They are one of the most foremost reasons of causing hand pain. Okay, repetitive strain injury. Now, what's the other reason? The number one reason for the repetitive strain injury, the number one cause, there's lots of causes, but as far as keyboard goes, the number one cause is bad key switches. Okay, so let me give you actual practical advice. So first thing you want to do is you want to go out and buy a mechanical keyboard. Important, mechanical key switch keyboard. That's the first thing you want to do. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing you want to do is you want to ban any of these modifier key codes. Instead, you want to press them sequentially. Okay, that's related to another article which I started to write. So a draft version I haven't finished yet. So keyboard health guide. Okay, so this is a summary of my 30 years of experience. Now there's this topic is very huge, and there's so many different opinions. Most of them, 90% of them is crap. Okay, it's baseless. Anyway, so in here I just tell you in summary of my 30 years experience of 1,000 articles. There are 1,000 articles on keyboard, on my solid keyboard, okay, that like literally 1,000 articles. So for example, you can see, 1,000 articles. So my summary of my experience, I'll just tell you two things, okay? One, go out, buy a mechanical keyboard, okay, with mechanical key switch. And that switch must be linear switch and must be light. So if you don't know anything about it, go get a 45 grams activation force, such as Cherry MX Red switch, okay? So that's number one thing. Forget about all the other advice or how to remap, whether you should remap keys, where you should be caps lock or should be control or whatever, or ways to press the key, or whether you should touch type or, this, or whether you need tending, all everything. My 30 years experience, I'll just tell you two things here, okay? Go out, get a mechanical keyboard with linear light switch. That's one thing. The second thing is get rid of key cords. Okay. Second importance: avoid pressing Control Alt Command key combinations. So how do you avoid it? One is turn on sticky keys. Sticky keys available on the Mac, on Linux, on Windows. You can read this article or you can search the web. Just turn it on, okay? That's one easy solution. Two, you get an extra programmable macro keypad like I have. So, for example, this Ultimate Hacking Keyboard, I'm using it as a macro keypad. For example, typically when you want to switch to last window, you press Alt Tab, right? You press Alt Tab. That's a key code. Press Alt, hold it down, press Tab, then, look, I want to go here, okay, where I want to go here, then release Alt. That's idiotic. That's idiotic in so many ways. I have an article on that, okay? So anyway, so one way to avoid key code is turn on sticky keys, or the second way is buy a macro keypad like the one I have. Okay, so you can see switch window, one single key press. There's no code. Okay, switch tab, previous tab, previous, next tab, next. Okay, close window, this key. Undo close, this key. One single key. You don't want Control T, Control Shift T, Okay, the most important. So, okay, so that's it. So let me go on because we have so many other things to talk about. So your question about Shift key, okay? So the question about Shift key, yeah, you can ban, it's not easy to ban them because if you use sticky key, that will solve a lot of problems, okay? But it has some issues, That's the thing with keyboard. You have to always have some minor issues because sometimes sticky doesn't work, or if you turn on sticky key, sometimes it's stuck. You can't figure out which key is stuck. That's very bad. Let's say you have the Windows key stuck. Sometimes that happens on Windows, happens on Mac. Mac has some other issues. Happens on Linux too. So if you turn on sticky keys, where's my article? Okay, so let's go to it. Okay, so let's just talk about this issue. So let me give you the whole opinion. Keyboard health guide. Okay, so let's put that link here. Turn off the white space and typewriters. Okay, so yeah, put a link there. Okay, link it. And sticky key. So let me show you the page about sticky key. Copy back to here. Okay, so sticky keys, that's one of the solution. The other solution, get a macro keypad. Okay, that's the two solutions, but they cannot completely get rid of the key codes. They'll solve 80% of the problem, so you don't have hand pain, but they have their own issues you have to live with. Okay, so yeah, so let me talk about shift key. So you are talking about shift key. Now shift key is one of the key, the least, the either sticky key, okay, well, to solve the shift key problem, turn on sticky key. Okay, but anyway, otherwise, yeah, so if you don't want to turn on sticky key for some reason, sometimes there's a reason, so what do? You always, you should always use both shift key. Okay, use the right hand when you want the keys on the left hand, use the left hand when the key is on the right hand. So okay, that's how you should press the sticky key, always both hands. Okay, and there's some other, complex technical solutions to avoid sticky key. For example, you can, so for example, if you want to type the @ sign, and if you are using Emacs, you can make Emacs that instead of typing Shift 2, you can type a sequence of 3 other keys. For example, menu space 2. So I did that for half a year. So again, there are so many, technical, esoteric solutions to solve these problems. But let me summarize. The first two, the most important is get a mechanical key switch, linear light switch. Then turn on sticky key or buy a key macro pad. Okay, that's all you need to know. All these details, I personally tried this, for 10 years, for over 10 years. Try this method, try that. A lot of techniquing, you need to write code, AutoHotkey, I have an article, I have a complete tutorial on AutoHotkey. Anyway, don't do that, okay? Just follow the, these are esoteric details. They don't help that much. Okay, so that's about that. So let's move on to the next topic. So what were we talking about? So yeah, white space, Apple keyboard, symbols. Copy that. We did that already. Keyboard search, band key chords. Yeah, typewriters. Yeah, mechanical typewriters. Okay, so let's talk about the next topic. Anything questions? So here, here's an example of esoteric details. So Rusty says, if you ban shift key, then how could uppercase letters be typed? Even in the case of the sticky keys, would it be efficient to use, let's say, just key caps lock for the shift, or use, okay, I know your question. For example, let's say I want to say I'm angry at key codes. I want all caps, okay? I am angry at key codes, okay? So to answer your question, normally you hit caps lock, then you can type the whole thing. It'll be all capital. My solution is, do this, okay? There. So 3 keys, okay? So I am angry at something, okay? Now watch the pink window, okay? Now, 1 key to select them all, 1 key to capitalize the first word of every word, another key to capitalize them all, okay? So this is my solution, my answer to your caps lock question, right? If you ban shift key, or you can just like, I am, or hold shift for each one, hold shift, space, hold shift, that's another way. So anyway, your question is how do you type a bunch of capital letters? This is my solution, okay? So anyway, again, like what I said, there are so many details. Don't worry about it, okay? Don't worry about your, yeah, but what about this one? What about, what happened, if you ban that, what happened? Don't worry about that. 2 recommendations. 1, go out, buy a linear light switch mechanical keyboard, okay? Stop using your laptop. It is laptop keys that got me RSI in 2005. I've been touch typing heavily every day since 1989, okay? I don't have a problem in the first 15 years. Until 2005, I was using an Apple laptop. I have an article on that. Search for Xali RSI history. I have like 10 articles, detail each situation, each occurrence. Anyway, so 2005, I was on an Apple laptop at all times, no actual keyboard, just laptop. That got me RSI, okay, first time. And ever since I have RSI, I have other issues. I have, so my 30 years advice about keyboard, I started to use Vorak layout, in 1994, okay. I started touch typing, okay, Xali RSI history, okay. So just search for that. I have like 100 articles, so there, okay. Xali's typing experience and RSI, okay. So here is a summary, chronological summary of my repetitive strain injury. 1988, I learned touch typing on an electric typewriter. 1992, I worked as a data entry clerk, which means my job is typing all day. 1994, I learned Vorak layout because I despise inefficient design. I'm very much into design of things. That's why I look into, for example, Unicode, the symbols, or programming language, coding style, or documentation, So typing experience. So 1994, I learned about Vorak layout because quality is very bad. So, some of you will ask, should I learn QWERTY? Okay, again, my top 2 advice, go out, get a linear light switch. Forget about all the QWERTY or key map or how you should this or that. Get a linear light switch, okay? Linear and light. Get used to it, okay? You might say, oh, but my brother says that, or my friend says, you should have blue switch because clicky give you sensational tactile feedback or this, that. Crap. You get used light linear. Oh, I mean, if you have opinions, that's fine. Okay, but if you don't know much about this, my advice is go out, get a linear light switch. Get used to it. Linear light switch, mechanical keyboard. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, avoid key combination. How do you avoid it? 1, turn on sticky key. Okay, it's got some problems, but just try to get used to it. Okay, or buy a macro keypad. $50 will get you one. 20 keys, depending on, you can spend 100, or more. So macro keypad, if you are, Photoshop, image editing, CAD, or whatever, video editing, there's a lot of shortcuts. Usually 30 shortcuts in every application, So get a macro keypad, okay? So okay, that's it. That's the 2 top most things you need to be concerned about, okay? The other ones are little details. Vorak, Vorak, should you learn Vorak or should you not? Or should you learn, Cormac? It's superior than Vorak, crap. Okay, this is not too important. Not too important, okay, for your hand health. Okay, so anyway, this article is a detail of each of the occurrence, the about of my repetitive strain injury. I fully documented. Each one has a story. When did I, where is the pain? Where does it come from? I was puzzled. Then 2007, I had something. That's when I created Ergo Emacs. Then 2009. Okay, so. Okay, I switched to the Microsoft Natural keyboard. That's okay. So anyway, then there's a problem. 2010, the second time I have RSI due to this reason. Okay, so then 2012 another issue happened. Like I was so puzzled. So anyway, that's my history of my RSI. Okay. Questions like, then how do you type caps lock? If you, I recommend get rid of caps lock, right? But anyway, there's so many, that's too much issue to talk about because there's different solutions. Each one's got a problem. That's kind of not too important. So, you can keep caps locks if you want to, so anyway, so let's go back to the talk show. So it's already an hour. So yeah, you like tactile switches. If you have an opinion, that's fine. Stick with your habit or opinion. But if you not sure yet, or maybe you think you need to change, then you can listen to my advice. Okay, we talked about a lot keyboard. Okay, so there's more Unicode. So it's already an hour. There's quite a lot of things to talk about. Unicode and CSS. And okay, so if you guys like my stuff, okay, go to Xali code, xali.info, all the way bottom, donate, okay, Patreon me or Amazon gift card me, use my link, okay, because if you are in German or other countries, you pay me via Amazon German, I don't get money. I cannot get the money. Okay, so use my link, Amazon USA, or you can PayPal me. Okay, if you like my stuff, donate. Okay, let's go back to, let's see what's the next thing. Let's talk about maybe a few more things. Let's talk about Unicode. So, all these are my work in the past month also. Lots of stuff. And Wolfram language, okay, I'm going to mention in a bit. So Unicode has a bunch of reference marks. Like I said, this is about writing, about symbol use and human languages, linguistics and human history. So in Western society, for example, you have this paragraph mark called Pioquo sign, and you have section sign. Then you have the traditional asterisk, then you have low asterisk, then you have double asterisk, then you have this flower punctuation mark, then you have triple asterisk called asterism. Okay, so very interesting. Asterisk. All these are used for reference marks, mostly in English writing history, in Western writing history. So you have dagger, double dagger, you have dagger with left guard. Okay, so then you have triple dagger, then you have actual dagger emoji, then you have star emoji and star symbols. Okay, so you have all these different stars, and you have all this variety. You have more varieties of asterisk symbols. They are typically used for reference as reference marks. One of my favorite is the teardrop asterisk. Okay, so anyway, then you have snowflake symbols in Unicode. Then you have sparkles. Okay, then you also have floret. Like this. Very interesting. So, and also in Western culture, English writing, you have these pointing fingers. Okay, they are also used for reference purposes. Like, see also, pointing finger is very interesting. Then in Chinese, you have, for example, this one. Okay, this is Chinese used in China, Japan, Taiwan. Okay, basically Asia. Reference mark. Okay, we don't have, we don't use asterisk. The traditional is this, for reference. But in modern days, you have a lot Chinese mixed with English, for example, for chemistry symbols or mathematics. So you also see Western punctuations. But anyway, so all these are interesting as reference marks. Okay. So it's interesting when you study them because it. Hello, am I back? Hello, am I back? The electricity went out. The local power having some issue. But I guess that's it for today then. Bye, guys. Hello, am I back? Bye, guys.